Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Adams Brothers Podcast. Happy Thursday to each and every last one of you out there in Facebook land and YouTube land. We are live, streaming live on both platforms. Welcome. We are joined here this evening by a candidate for District 4 Commissioner here in the city of Deerfield Beach, Mr. Chauncey Chaman. He's running for City Commissioner in District 4. Mr. Chapman, welcome. Your first
Thank
time
you very
here
much,
on
gentlemen.
the Adams Brothers Podcast. Welcome, sir.
I am delighted to be on the Adams Brothers Podcast. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we were talking off air, and we were trying to reach out to you a few months ago, and I don't know, maybe the email got lost or got in the shuffle somewhere. But we wanted you to come on a few months ago. We would love to have had you on a couple of times, like all of the other candidates. They've been on our podcast 2 or 3 times. But
no time machine though, so you're stuck with me today.
Right. Well, we have you now. So if you're just joining us, we're here with Chauncey Chaman. He's a candidate for District 4 Commissioner here in Deerfield Beach. So, Mr. Chapman, go ahead and tell the viewers out there that's watching right now all about Chauncey Chaman, whatever you want them to know about you, sir.
Well, just in a thumbnail, I love being underwater. I don't know what happened to me, but somewhere along the line, I found myself happiest when I was deepest. I left college and went to a trade school and learned how to dive with heavy Navy gear, the great big old brass hat, and started my professional career as a commercial underwater diver doing construction work. My first job was in the Charleston Naval Weapons Station, rehabilitating a pier where we had 550, 70-foot long pilings that we needed to encase in concrete. It took a year to do it, but it saved people a lot of money. It was a lot less expensive than replacing the pier. And so I've got a little bit of an insight as to what's going on with the Deerfield Beach Pier that other people may not have. I spent 6 years in Columbia, South Carolina with my own business. I taught at the University of South Carolina, and in the process of doing that, I managed to change the way divers were trained. And the changes that I worked with a group called PADI to implement are still used today, which is kind of cool. Spent a couple of years in the Bahamas, came back to Florida, drove a dive boat for a while, met my wife, got a job offer from a company in California, took it, and lived across the bay from San Francisco for 30 years. And along the way, what I found out is that I can fix things. I understand how things work, whether it's a computer or not email so much, but hydroelectric dams, paper mills, sewage treatment plants, all kinds of crazy things I got to work on. And when I ended up in California, I was out there to help them build regulators, the breathing part of diving equipment. And the first 2 I worked on with them are still in the market today, and they're excellent units. We had a problem with exporting products into Europe, and I found that if we documented how we did our business and had that documentation system audited, we could save a lot of money. So I learned about something called ISO 9000, working with the American Society for Quality, and organized the 3 locations, Shanghai, Taipei, and San Leandro, with 7 divisions and 3 languages, and maintained that for 20 years. And what I learned, one way or the other, a lot of it would be really invaluable for the city of Deerfield Beach. So we watched the kind of California go into the dumpster and left California and came to Florida, which is our original plan, and moved into Deerfield Beach in 2016. What we saw in California, just a quick story about 2 towns, one of them is Deerfield Beach, was there was this really nice avenue that had an organic growth of shops where there was a automobile, a repair, and a restaurant, and just mom and pop stores. And one day the city decided they didn't like that, and they used eminent domain to take the land from all of the people who own the businesses on that avenue and turn it into an auto mall. And they did it for one reason. The auto mall was a better tax base. It had nothing to do with any kind of safety issues, but it was just simply the city's greed wanting to have access to more money. And we're seeing something like that happen here in Deerfield Beach. About 4 years ago, I was asked to help take a look at a project that would kind of wreck a community in Deerfield Beach. There are over 100 homes on Federal Highway that had been there for 60 or 70 years. Multifamily homes, grandma, pop, and the kids all living in the same house. They had sunrises, they had sea breezes. They had a really nice community. And this development showed up, and they wanted to take a piece of property between the homes and Federal Highway and turn it into a massive apartment complex. And that brought a lot of problems to the community, other than they would now have a 50-foot wall behind their homes with people looking out of their windows into their kitchen, into their bathroom, into their backyard. It was not a good deal. The zoning was a problem. They got the county of Broward to modify zoning, and then they supported the people who made up the city commission in Deerfield Beach by pumping money into their campaign coffers. So when it came around the time to make a vote to change the zoning, which was not copacetic, it wasn't a good thing. The commission voted to make the change and to drop the property value of every single one of those homes by over 20%. One guy, Deerfield, got up in front of the commission and said, "That's my retirement fund. You've just taken 20% of my retirement fund away from me." So I call that city versus the citizen. Do you want to run a city that runs for itself? Everything it does is to increase its own revenues. Or do you want to live in a city that works for the citizens? We bought a house in Deerfield Beach. That little piece of property is our part of Deerfield Beach. We own part of Deerfield Beach. The city should run to take care of the city so that we continue to have a good place to live, not to sell off chunks of land to be able to have more money to do what the heck ever they want to do. Like buying trash cans for $1,300 each. They thought that was such a good idea, they bought 100 of them. And if you go down to the beach today, you'll see them sinking into the sand. They also have, it's kind of funny for me as an outsider to notice that there's a little bit of city envy. So there's a little bit of city envy with Pompano. And I think they kind of looked down at Pompano and said, "Hey, we want really cool lifeguard stands like Pompano has. Let's make them bigger." And in conversation, I found out the Pompano lifeguard stands were under $50,000 to build. The Deerfield Beach lifeguard stands were $211,000 to build. $211,000 to build a lifeguard stand. You can build a 3-bedroom concrete block stucco house for that. It's just, I call it stupid spending. Why did they do that? And part of the reason why they did that is they don't know what they're doing. They're just guys who got elected, like me, and I'd like to get elected, who had never worked in project management, which I spent 30 years in life-critical project management, who don't understand how documented processes work. And I can wander off and talk forever about the benefits of the standard is called ISO 9000. If you're in Europe or Asia, you know what it is. If you're in America, you don't. If Boeing had ISO 9000 management, they wouldn't have the problems with the machines they're currently having. It's an excellent system to take a look at. So the Access Apartments got approved. 337 apartments are going to be built at Federal and Eller. And they have now found another chunk of land just north of where the city hall is. And they're working on building another 337 unit apartment. And it'll be called Vista Clara. But it just totally ruins the neighborhood. The traffic that is going to go up, they're not making the streets wider. They're not providing access to emergency vehicles. It's not a good program. And on March 11th, when we have an election, The county of Broward is going to review the zoning change, and they may change it back and to what it was originally. Things I'd like to see happen as city commissioner. One of them is I'd like to see the property taxes reduced, and we can get into why I think we can do that. We own the city, right? It's ours.
How would you do it?
Pardon?
Yeah.
How would you
How would you make that
taxes?
right?
So
what areas would you look at cutting or
well, there are people who are very, very good at that, and there are people who aren't. And I don't think I'm one of the ones that's good at it. I can sit down with the books and try and find what I would be looking for, but there are accountants who are trained in that, and they can dig into it. So when you mention that to one of the predatory candidates, they will say, oh, if you won't pay us all of the income tax that we want, you're not going to get essential services. BSO, fire, EMS, we might not be able to pay for them. Which, I mean, if somebody says that, you need to kick them in the can, because that's what you want your city to do. The city is there to provide you with a safe, clean environment. Broward Sheriff's Office, love those guys. Fire, EMS, the water that they supply to us, the sewage they take away from us, the trash they collect. And those guys are heroes. The bulk pickup just amazes me. To take care of our streets, to take care of our parks. We're told that that's 60% of our budget, and the annual revenues were $360 million. So if you take 60% of that away, you're left with $144 million. Let's just assume we even give those essential services a little bump in pay. You still have like $100 million sitting there. What are you doing with that money? You can dig into that and find some fat. You can find there's a gentleman named Joe Hines who's very good at looking at these things and finding that there are little tiny reserves tucked away here and there for $1 million or $15 million. I don't think it's something you can take a machete to and go and whack it and just drop it by 10% on day one. I think it will take some thinking. We'll take some maybe redirecting in what the city plans to do, which I call stupid spending. We'll stop spending money on things that are just nuts. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. Also, as you touched on the 60% of the budget, so would you be in favor of cutting back some of the folks in public safety, like the BSO?
No. And the other thing they threatened to do is to cut the salaries of the city employees. And I wouldn't be in favor of doing that. I'd be in favor of studying it and understanding what's going on. I mean, if you look at what we're seeing come out of the federal government, where we're sending $120 million to some country somewhere I've never heard of, so that people can study how people stutter. I mean, why are they doing that? That doesn't make me any better, and it's my tax dollars. So we would be looking for things in the city budget that there's money stashed away that we're not taking advantage of, and B, it's just stupid. I mean, it's just stupid. So let me just go back to design, or I haven't mentioned that yet, but one of the things I did a lot of was design work. And for example, with these lifeguard towers, if you use classic design processes, one of the elements that you start out with is, what are you going to spend? And if it's a product, what are you going to sell it for? So if you start out saying $75,000 for a lifeguard stand, that's it. You got to do it for $75,000. That drives everything else in the design project. And you end up not wasting $111,000 on each lifeguard stand.
Yeah, those lifeguard stands have definitely been a
hot topic.
Major, a hot topic throughout.
We got award-winning lifeguards. They didn't win awards in those towers. They won awards because of their athleticism, their skills, their attitude, and we're prouder. I'm a water guy. I'm like, that's great that we've got them here, but it wasn't the stands that got them there. And by starting out your design effort by saying, make it like Pompano, but make it bigger, you don't have the limitation of, well, let's keep it under $75,000 per stand. You turn people loose and they'll spend money for all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to see anybody have their salaries cut. I don't want to, maybe we increase it. One of the things that is floating around out there is pensions. I know they're there. I don't know much about the mechanics of what's going on inside of the pensions, but I would be willing to bet that there's a better way for people to have their retirement funds invested than in a pension. And we need to get into it, need to take a look at it, and it's just going to take a little bit of time.
So you think that the retirement system, like maybe that, because I know the general employees are in a 401k. So are you saying, and I don't want to put
I was in a 401k. It's not good, not a good thing. It sounds like a good thing, but it's not a good thing. Mutual funds usually make up a 401k. Mutual funds have hidden fees. There are management fees hidden inside of each mutual fund. So if you had a mutual fund that was worth, say, $100, and the market didn't do anything, you didn't do anything, it just sat there, after a year, you would have less than $100 because the management fees for taking care of that mutual fund consumed some of your savings. The same thing goes for 401ks. The one I was in, I found had 3 separate fees that were taken out. So if I had $100 in the 401k January 1, the next year I would have less if the market did nothing because I had to pay to keep the 401k up and running. It turns out, and I don't know if this is still the case, but once a year you can take every penny, and this is pre-tax money, so it's good money. You can take every penny out of your 401k and put it in a self-directed IRA in a financial institution like Schwab that has virtually no cost. So you make money by getting it out of the 401k. You make money by getting it out of mutual funds. Get it into electronically traded funds. They're priced every day, and they have about 0.25% of management cost, whereas mutual funds will have somewhere between 3 and 5%.
What are your thoughts on, well, we talk to a lot of city employees. We both worked for the city of Deerfield Beach for 25 years apiece at one point in our lives. And we used to have an old defined benefit pension.
Yes.
They got rid of that years ago, right after I started with the city back in 1989, 1990. And now, right after that, everybody was forced to go into the 401k, and the employees have been asking for years to say, like they want to get into Florida retirement.
Yeah.
Would you be in favor of looking into, not saying that you would do it, but possibly looking into, finding a way to get the employees that would like to have a defined benefit pension, some sort, into the Florida retirement?
Sure. And as long as all of your modifiers are still active, which is look into it. Let's see what's going on. Let's find out the truth, not what the sales pitch is.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that was a big issue with the fire pension. I know I've seen a lot of posts over the last few years about the payouts for the firemen. I don't know. I heard you talking about the pension earlier. And I was wondering, was that one of your concerns as a candidate, was the fireman's pension? If that has come into
I've been told by some people that that's the third wire, don't touch it. And I looked at them and I went, why not? Let's get this stuff out on the table where you can measure it and see what it is. Instead of stuffed in the back office and told it's a third wire, don't touch it. I work with a group called Fisher Investments. Been around for a long time, do very, very, very good. And their basic expectation is 9.75% growth per year. I don't know what the pension grows. Mm-hmm. If it's better, then it's better. If it's not, then maybe it would be a good idea to have Fisher Investment manage the pension instead of the company that's currently managing it.
Yeah. If elected commissioner, Mr. Chapman, what would be one of the first things you would do?
I want to jump into that budget and find out what's happening with that $144 million. I think that's I think that's just really important. It's my money. I mean, my wife and I have been either in school or working since we were 15 years old. I'm now 75. We've managed to squirrel away some money, but every year somebody wants to come and take some of that money away. And if they're going to take it away and give me a really nice city that's clean and safe and fun, I'm all for it. But if they're going to go and waste it on, stupid lifeguard stands, just are way the hell overcosted. I was told by one of the commissioners that it'll withstand a Category 5 hurricane. I don't think that commissioner knows what a Category 5 hurricane is. Those things would end up toothpicks in federal highway.
That's a catastrophic storm.
Yeah,
Category 5. Yeah. That's not many.
But the foundations.
Yeah, not much would be still.
I hope nothing like that never comes through here either.
Yeah, it didn't. Back in 26. Yeah, it took out an Air Force base up in northern Florida when one came through a couple of years ago. I mean, they're just incredible power in those things. So I live in the west end of Deerfield Beach. My wife didn't want to live close to the coast because she has a little hurricane adverse. But I'll tell you, I went through the Loma Prieta earthquake in California. And the nice thing about hurricanes is they kind of send you an email. Hey, I'm going to be there in a week. And then they knock on your door just before they walk in. Earthquakes don't do that. They just happen.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the level of spending in Deerfield Beach? Is it too much or should it be less?
Well, I know a couple of places where it should be less. I think the turtle lights were the lights that were put in to prevent turtles from going inland when they needed to go out to the ocean. The installation fee, if the number I was given was correct, they're spending too much. I sat in a commission meeting where a person got up and said the architect needs another $19,000 because they didn't think about permits. Don't ever hire that architect again. They can't cost the job. And then they come back to us and say, well, I didn't do it right the first time. I need $19,000. We'll fix it. And they give it to them. And you're at that point, you're kind of over a barrel and you have to give it to them. But yeah, I think they spend too much money.
And what are some other areas of or either departments or spending you would like to see cut?
There's one I found out about recently that I just kind of, you've got to be kidding me. I was invited to and went to the Black History at the DoubleTree and really enjoyed most of it. And I was told that the reason why they didn't do it at the Tigner Center was because you can't serve alcohol there. I was in the commission meeting when one of the commissioners said, we've got to put a kitchen in. We got to put a kitchen in. If you build it, they'll come. You got to put a kitchen in. And so they put a kitchen in. And I think the kitchen was about $75,000. And nobody wants to rent the Tigner Center for events because you can't serve alcohol. This is another thing I've watched the city do again and again and again. They make assumptions not based on fact. Instead of going out and talking to the people that they think would want to hire out the Tigner Center for events and finding out that, oh, well, we're not going to be able to do that because we can't serve alcohol in city buildings, they wouldn't have spent the $75,000 on the kitchen because people aren't going to come.
Now, it is my understanding that you can serve alcohol. You just have to go before the commission and get the approval of the commission to serve alcohol. And I believe if that happens, I'm not sure. So no, please don't hold me to it. But I'm just going by my memory that you would have to pay for security, either a security guard or BSO detail or something of that nature to serve alcohol.
Well, the person who gave me the information was a fairly highly placed city employee. I will find out what's going on because I don't like having misinformation, and my deep apologies if I didn't characterize that properly, but they basically said that's why the Black History was at the DoubleTree and not at the Tigner Center.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. I like the vibe over there to to the DoubleTree. I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I like the vibe over there.
They serve alcohol there.
Yeah, it's a nice vibe. It's
I loved it.
open.
It was a great evening. So
Yeah.
they've got a really, really nice facility there, and everybody seemed to be happy and having a good time.
Yeah.
And I met a bunch of really nifty folks, and yeah, it was great.
And you have to be able, and that was one of my things that I brought up years ago before they even built the Tigner Center. I was like, you have to be able to compete with the DoubleTree and the EPAT Larkin Center down in Pompano. People from Deerfield go to the DoubleTree and they go down to Pat Larkin Center and they go to Emmylou Olson Civic Center and they go other places. And if you're going to have a facility like that, a beautiful facility, you might want to consider allowing them to have serve some alcohol there and not make it so expensive for them to do so. So that's one of the things that a lot of the people here in the community and throughout the city have been asking for. And
well, you're absolutely correct. It's easy to say marketing and think that's if you build a better mousetrap, people beat a path to your house, and that all you got to do is build a better mousetrap and wait. And that's not what goes on. The company I worked for had made consumer products. And there were several trade shows where I stood in the aisle and asked people to try on a product and tell me what they thought. And I'd go through hundreds of people and I would tell us whether we had a good concept or a bad concept. We junked a couple of things as a result of that. And if you're not willing to go out and look at who your audience is, who your customer is, who you want to satisfy, you end up, with a pig's ear instead of a really pretty facility.
Mm-hmm. I have one more question for you, Chauncey. It's been a lot of talk about City Hall, that it's old, and it is old. It's been there for a long time, and it was there when we went to Deerfield Beach Elementary School back in the early 70s, and it's the same old City Hall. It did get a little makeover some years ago. Yeah, but what are your feelings on a new City Hall? Should it be torn down and rebuilt, or
the guy who complains about it raining in his office needs to learn how to use a phone and call a roofing company. I mean, come on, guys. If it's raining in your office, fix it and stop complaining. I really think that, and this is once again where you need to take a big step back and really use design process properly, engage in good architecture, in good architects, engage in people who really know what's going on and have experience in doing this. I would think that going down Hillsborough from the Dixie Highway down to the Federal Highway would be a place where you could maybe use eminent domain, take over some of those buildings, and end up building a really nice office / city hall edifice, set of buildings down there. I don't think going over and crushing Pioneer Park is really a good thing, because you don't have good streets going back there, for one. But yeah,
so you would like to see eminent domain, you said? I'm sorry, you would like to see eminent domain? I wasn't quite sure that
I said that you could use something like eminent domain. I didn't say I'd like it. I think it's kind of not a nice thing to do, but there are a lot of buildings there that would have to go away, and there are ways you can do that, where you can say, look, we're going to take your building away, and then we're going to build a nice one, and we're going to give you the bottom 2 floors as compensation for what you've lost. There's a fire station on the corner of Hillsborough and Federal Highway that could be sold and produce a ton of money. It's prime property, and then take that money and build a fire, police, city hall, kind of where the city hall is now.
Yeah, that's leading into the question I was going to about sensible development. How do you feel about development, as my brother just asked you? Because I know, like my brother said, and you kind of answered, you gave your answer about the fire. I see people in the chat, even on the last interview, people was talking about the fire station on Hillsborough and Federal. And I know I would like to see combined fire BSO
public
safety building, as they call them in
EMS.
other states. Yeah, EMS and
dispatch center, everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about the Pioneer Grove area that they're talking about redeveloping, which is just north of City Hall? That area.
I don't think that's, we've got a little bit of water access there, and for some reason they've got a boat. They can't figure out how to get out of the water. They should call me. I know how to do that. And as long as you enhance the access to the water and the park aspect of it, and you do something like a Austin River Walk, that would be interesting. But there's a problem with access to that area. There aren't any large streets in and out. And you've got Eller there that is just absolutely a parking lot twice a day when parents are dropping off and picking up their kids. I think that one of the charms of Deerfield Beach are the parks. And I don't like the idea of tearing up a park to put a building in there. Joni Mitchell wrote a song about that. They tore up Paradise and put up a parking lot. So that's just my personal feeling. I think that we need to enhance the parks. We need to maybe have more of them so that we have more access to nature. I mean, one of the things that every one of us could do that would improve our health is to get up and walk for 5 or 10 minutes after every meal we eat.
That's true.
And being able to get to nature and get away from pollutions is important to our individual health, important to our family health, and it's important to the city vibe. One of the things that I mentioned before, this Pompano envy or Boca Raton envy, who you should be envious of? That's Deerfield Beach next year. That's who we should be competing with, is what's Deerfield Beach going to be next year? How do we make Deerfield Beach better for us? I mean, we don't need super high rises. We need clean water. We need clean environments. We've got a problem coming on 10th Street, but we need to compete with ourselves. What can we do to make it better? I mean, the swimming pools right now, I think, are not in use and haven't been in use for a while. So maybe we could take a look at those. And I mean, there are a lot of people around here who fix swimming pools and just get the swimming pools fixed so people would have the opportunity to go do some laps and exercise in the water if they want to. The Arboretum at Constitution Park is fantastic. It's a great place to go walk, and they do a little wine and beer tasting down there occasionally. Quiet Waters is a nice park. They use it they did fireworks in it one year, and that was great. But they're using it now for the Renaissance Fair. So they have a really neat gadget where you can learn how to water ski without ever getting behind a boat. It's a nice facility, and we need more nice facilities. We need clean environments. We need to compete with ourselves. And speaking of clean environments, you can buy a thing called a TDS meter from Amazon for $5 and stick it under your water spigot and see what the number is. Mine is 150. So I have 150 parts per million of something coming out of the city water. And I don't know what it is. I know that the device can track some particulate matter, but it does not track inorganics. It does not track organics. So there may be more stuff coming out. It's my understanding, and I've asked and I was told I couldn't go see about our water plant. What are they doing there? I mean, it would be nice to find out. I think when they send out that document that I get, I think about once a year, that says that we've got really great water and we've got a little bit of junk in it, but for the most part, it's really great water. I think that's made at the water plant, not 5 miles later when it comes trickling out of somebody's tap. So we should be able to get much cleaner water at our taps. And talk about next year, that's a huge project. We've got miles and miles and miles and miles of very old piping taking water around the city. How do we get that so that the particulate matter that is clogging up one of my filters is no longer coming out of the water tap, and I can now drink straight out of the tap and not have any concerns?
Yeah, and I know that they are also putting in the new smart meters here in the city of Deerfield Beach.
Right. So part of what I hope I don't digress too much. We had 50 women sewing products in our facility in California, another bunch of them in Shanghai, but they had a tape measure that ran around the table that the sewing machine was mounted on. And when I came through to calibrate everything that we did, any measurement that affected a product, I was told, "You're stupid. Look, it's just a tape measure." So I held a steel rule up against it and found out in 36 inches, it was 1/4 of an inch too long. Calibration is critical, and particularly when you're dealing with stuff like people's health. So how are these meters calibrated? Do they go around? Is there a calibration port? Or are they able to test each individual meter to determine that it's measuring very accurately? What's the level of accuracy that the meter has? I just have some questions about it. I think it's a great idea. It's going to save somebody a lot of money because, they just get a meter to bill. There's nobody in between. They're just going to take more money out of our pockets. But is that meter accurate this year? Is it accurate next year? Is it accurate in 10 years? Is it accurate in 50 years? That's my concern about it.
Yeah, that's valid. Anything you put in, you should be able to calibrate it. So how often, and you should be able to test it as well. So if you put a device in, you should be able to test it, and you should be able to make sure it's calibrated.
Yeah, the calibration should be built into the device. It shouldn't be rocket science. I mean, the thing's talking to the somehow through the air, it's reporting your water consumption. They should be able to build into that a calibration bit so that it can report in I'm healthy, or oops, I'm sick, come replace me.
All right. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chapman. That's all the questions that we have for you. So we're going to give you 2 minutes to tell the. We're going to give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes to tell the voters out here in Deerfield Beach, out in District 4, why they should elect Chauncey Chapman as the next District 4 commissioner. You have 3 minutes.
I am the candidate for change. The person I'm running against was picked by the previous commissioner and has been tied up in the city approving development for quite a while. I don't think that's anything I'd want to talk about. We've got some really poor stuff done. So I'm the candidate for change. I want to stop stupid spending. That's part of my punchline. I want to see the city make every penny scream when we use it to buy whatever we absolutely need to buy. I want to see the city invest in the city so that next year we have a better city and a better city and a better city. That I want to know that the air that I'm breathing today by the asphalt plant is clean, and I want to know that the air that I'll be breathing in 5 years by the asphalt plant and the 10th Street connector is clean. I want to know that I'm not breathing particulate matter off of car tires or out of their exhaust pipe. I'd like to see everybody who works for the city respected, honored, and I'd like to see them paid better than anybody else and working for any other city. And because they do a great job. I'm always impressed when I see the bulk guy come by and he can pick a penny up out of the grass and not break the grass.
Yeah.
I want to see that for every penny we spend, we see that it's budgeted. We need to understand if we're spending over budget. I got $100 to buy bananas, but I spent $110. Why did I spend $110 when only $100 was budgeted? I would want to more parks, cleaner places, nicer streets. BSO. They do a great job. We just had a murder recently, which is tragic for Deerfield Beach. You look at this, what's going on down in Pompano, and you don't want to live there. Boca is not that nice either, but Deerfield Beach is like this really nice, quaint place, and we need to invest in Deerfield Beach. We need to make it better next year, and we need to do that every year. And that's why you should vote for me, because I'm for the citizen, not the city.
Well said, sir.
Thank you very much.
The election is March the 11th, next Tuesday. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And Mr. Chauncey Chaman is asking for your vote.
And I'm asking you to write my name in, color in the little box and write in Chauncey Chapman, because I got a little bump and ended up being tossed off the ballot.
Okay, so you're right in. You can, if you want to vote for Mr. Chapman, you would have to write in, correct?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, just write Chauncey Chapman into that little box there, that little open area there on your ballot, Chauncey Chapman, and you'll be able to vote for him for your as your next District 4 commissioner out in District 4. So Chauncey Chapman, good luck to you, sir.
And we'll see you back on here with your book.
Yeah. Well, we touched on part of it today. Thank you guys so much. You do a wonderful job. I apologize for having email disasters, but I got here, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of you. Thank you very much, sir.
And good luck on Tuesday.
Good luck on Tuesday. And if you win, please come back and talk to us as the next District 4 commissioner. Good luck, sir.
Absolutely. You guys would be on my list of people to tell me what to do. You have your finger on the pulse of the city. You know what people want. We just have to listen to the citizens and take care of them.
Thank you very much. Well said, sir. And if you're just joining us, we've been talking to Chauncey Chaman. He is a commissioner. He's a candidate for commissioner in District 4, Deerfield Beach. The election is Tuesday, March the 11th. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Good luck again to you, sir, and we'll be talking to you soon.
God bless.
God bless you.
Good night, sir.
Good night.